On this episode of Robe Chats, the podcast.
I don't think there was one day that I stood behind a console and didn't get nervous before a show. Would I change it? Probably not. It's a really cool job.
Lighting director, Wally Lees. Welcome back to Robe Chats, the podcast. My name's Brian Matthews, and I am your host once again. And as you can see, we are still here at the USITT Conference and Expo in Columbus, Ohio. And we are joined today by acclaimed and world-renowned lighting director, Mr. Wally Lees. Wally, thank you very much for taking the time to chat with me.
Thanks for inviting me. Pleasure to be here.
Have you ever been to USITT before?
No,
or
first time.
First time here?
First time.
Yeah.
Enjoying it as well. It's great.
Yeah, it's a great time to see everyone and work with the students, and we're here with our NRG students as well. So
yeah, it's a great give back thing. It's really good.
I know they're excited to be able to meet with you and some other designers that we've got. So it'll be a great time. Basically, I want to start at the beginning and kind of kick it off. I know you came from Glasgow, Scotland, originally. So
yeah,
kind of just give our listeners, our viewers here, kind of the background as to how Wally Lees got into this crazy world of entertainment production.
Okay, I have to give you the short version as best I can. So the Glasgow part, left when I was a kid. That's why I have the British accent now. Went to England. Getting into the industry was totally by accident. I'd left high school, is what you'd call it in the States. I was just about to go to college to study engineering, and I was in an off year. And my best friend's brother was manager of a nightclub just outside London in a place called Watford. It was a cabaret club, not a nightclub. So there's performing artists there. People dine, and then you'd have the performers like Rose Royce, Martha Reeve, and the Vandellas, and you'd get all sorts of eclectic people through there. It was really great. The 3 Degrees and people like that. And I was looking for a summer job just to make some extra cash, and he was looking for a trainee electrician. They already had a guy there, and I was just going to help him out for the summer. I loved it. I thought it was the greatest thing since sliced bread. I thought, this is great. I'm getting paid to do this, and I enjoy it. And the summer job ran out, and then they asked me to stay on a little bit, and I did. And then I got to, a few other artists came through town, but the one that comes to the name that got me into the business for real was a folk singer in England called Elkie Brooks. And there was a guy who was designing the show. It was 2 guys. It was Phil Freeman, and I believe Chaz Harrington was also the designer of the show, and I think Phil was running it for Chaz. And Phil was Dire Straits' dimmer guy for Chaz, but he was also a fantastic lighting designer. Super knowledgeable guy. And they sent a lighting plot through to me. They were going to come in about 2 weeks' time. And when they got there, they said it was the first time they'd gone to one of these nightclub scenes and everything was correct. And basically said, listen, if this place ever shuts down, you want to carry on doing this, give me a call. It shut down. And I wasn't hesitant. I mean, between Phil and Chaz, they got me a job at Zenith Lighting in Lots Road in London, run at the time by Paul Turner. It's a little warehouse in Lots Road in Chelsea. And then that was really the very beginning. I was sweeping the warehouse floor, learning about every lamp bulb, cable, spraying truss, power washing it, turning it silver, turning it black, like you didn't want to know. That lasted a long time. Samuelson's Communications bought Zenith Lighting, and then they bought the franchise to Verilight. So we had Zenith Lighting on the lower floor of a warehouse in Cricklewood, and Verilight on the upper floor. Okay. Which was a nightmare because everything went in an elevator. I remember it vividly. But we did it. We loved it. So after the experience at Zenith there, sweeping the warehouse floor, it gets a little old after a while, you know. And then one Friday evening, Jimmy Barnett, who was the old lighting designer for Queen. Okay. And a friend of mine, somewhat, we acquaintance, not a friend really, at the time, came downstairs on a Friday evening and said, anybody got any electronics experience? Which I had, because I was going to go to university and study engineering. And I just thought, time's up. I'm in. This is the door I was waiting for, maybe. And he goes, come upstairs. And we had a little chat. And on the Monday morning, I was flying to Dallas to go to Verilight when it just started up.
Right.
And learned how to build VL1s from the ground up. And it was so much fun to me at the time. It was hard work, but it was so much fun.
Yeah.
A little above my pay scale, to tell you the truth. The electronics was way above where I really was. But I was determined to give it a shot. And because when I was at that nightclub, I ran into a few people. Spike Falana comes to mind. And I can't remember who show he was designing at the time. I can't really remember. I think it was a comedian in Britain called Jim Davidson, but I can't remember. And I remember listening to their conversations, and Spike was going, yeah, next week I'm going to be in Tokyo. The following month I'm going to be in Budapest. And I'm going, he's going to be in Tokyo? He's going to be in Budapest? I went,
Sounds like something
might be
a little fun.
I could do with a bit of this action.
Yeah.
And that's really how I fell in. And once Verilight started, it was off to the races because there really wasn't any competitors at the time.
Yeah.
The only moving light around. And it was really, people would call in. It was, how many do you want? Do you have the money? Off we go. And it was hard work because there was only a few of us that used to take shows out that would also program and be a technician. Most of the time you had a programmer in those days, and they had to have multiple technicians because they broke down a lot.
Right.
And then, and that was really it. Got to meet different designers, going through time.
Yeah.
And just ended up where I ended up.
How did you get your first hands on the console? What got you behind a console?
Well, I always knew that I didn't want to be coiling cable my entire life. I decided at an early age which end of the snake I really wanted to be part of.
Right.
And it wasn't the bad end. It was the fun end I wanted to be at. And I'd pretty much set my goals of getting there. First console, though, believe it or not, was a Telescan console. There was a guy in England, a good friend called Andy Doig, who was probably the best Telescan program I knew at the time, outside of France. And we put on a demo for Jimmy Barnett as well at Verilight, you see. And we put on a demo to a Queen song. And we did it, and we blew people away with the demo. And that got me onto a tour with my first artist, which was a guy called Chris Rea.
Okay.
Great artist from the northeast of England, which I used to live up there. So it was a huge treat for me. And again, Telescans were a lot of work at the time as well. And that was the first time behind a console. And I also had the job now at Verilight. So when I came off that tour, it didn't take long. Once I'd run one tour, it didn't really matter what the desk was. Verilight were confident enough that I could program their console. So yeah. I got my hands on a VR1 console very early. But it wasn't really much to play with. But it was them.
One of the things that people most know you for is you are the longtime lighting director for Mr. Paul McCartney, Sir Paul McCartney.
Yeah.
How does one get hooked up with a Beatle?
Oh, well, I was lucky. I mean, as I said, through the years, you get to work for a lot of different designers. And Roy Bennett was a good friend of mine. Still is a good friend of mine. And we'd done many shows together prior to the Paul McCartney thing with Duran Duran, Bryan Adams, and various other different people. And he just called me up one day. He was in London. I was living in London at the time. And for a short period again, I went back. And we had dinner. And he just told me about the project. And basically, Roy brought me on. And off we went.
Yeah.
And that was back in the end of 2001, beginning of 2002. Up until a year prior, because I've come off the road now and handed it over, because it was time for me to hand over the technology to some younger people, because it was getting ahead. There comes a time at my age where the technology was getting beyond me a little bit, right. And I was happy. I was happy about it. I was totally content. And now Roy still does it. And the last tour was the first one I missed. And there's a young guy called Stephen Mills now who runs it. But it was a great experience. 22 years. It was fabulous.
Nice.
It was fab. It just seemed like a good place to bow out from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things that people would think about when that is that, it's a very glamorous sort of position to be the lighting director on tour with Paul McCartney, but kind of give us that behind the scenes sort of, that's a worldwide tour, selling out stadiums everywhere you go. So what's the real skinny behind the scenes there?
It was. I mean, it was an honor. I didn't really think, you can't get much higher than that as far as I was concerned.
Right. So
it was an absolute pleasure every day. I mean, some days were better than others. So there's always days on the road. It's not all glamour. But we do shows, most of them big, of course, arenas, stadiums. But he'd throw in a club every now and again, which would throw us a bit of a loop, and we'd always try and make it the best we could with limited stuff. But behind the scenes, Paul's a great guy. He's a down to earth great guy, and it was a real good family atmosphere there. And at the very beginning, there was Jerry Stickles was there, who was a great friend of mine from Duran days, the production manager. And unfortunately, Jerry's passed. And then Mark Spring took over as production manager and has been there ever since and doing a great job. And behind the scenes, it's those guys. They work really. I mean, I say those guys because I was fortunate enough for the whole period, pretty much, to travel in the band entourage, and I got the good life. Believe me. But the scheduling is hard sometimes with that size of a show because basically, you go from. In South America, for example, you'll go from one stadium to the next stadium. There might be 5 days between. I mean, once you load out, once the gear gets to the next city, those guys are loading it straight back in. So it's behind the scenes. It's hard, but they get treated well.
Yeah.
And everything's first class. So,
in the spirit of USITT and the students here, the energy students that are looking to get into this field or this industry. What are the biggest technical challenges that come with being a lighting director on the road when you have to load in different places, arena, stadium, club? What are the business?
Well, for the young people the young people getting involved, the biggest thing is attention to detail. I mean, it doesn't matter which part of the food chain you're in, really. Just do your bit to the best you can, and you'll move up. The challenges, as far as the lighting was concerned, it's mainly when you go into a building that you can't fit the equipment into because you're carrying 20-odd trucks full of lights and you're trying to get them all in. So you've got to realize if you've got 1,000 instruments and you're not putting them in the same place that day,
right,
you are touching every one of them. And the challenge is time. You're always up against time. It's your biggest thing every day. And, you go in there and you think it's all about you, and you soon realize it's not really all about me. There's a lot more going on than meets the eye. I mean, and of course there's an element of that in me as well. If you ask Springer, he'll tell you.
In that sort of sense, when you are out on tour, and there's multiple departments that are trying to do their job.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about the necessity to be able to work with other departments to make it all come off the way it needs to be.
It's huge, and it's a huge part of it. And unfortunately, I think that's getting a little tougher because back in the day, not wanting to go back to historical times, but back in the day when you were on tour, pretty much every department helped every other department. Like if the sound guys finished early at the end of the evening, they'd come back in and help you load your trucks and get back at it.
Well, that was nice.
It was always that way in the early days because it was more of a camaraderie thing. And we all felt so lucky to be doing it because really, it was really a hobby that everyone was doing in all departments and getting paid for it and traveling around the world and being really fortunate. But it comes with a lot of sacrifice too because you're never at home. Relationship struggle sometimes. You miss holidays, birthdays, all that stuff that people don't really think about. When you're young, it doesn't matter to you so much. But when you think about 40-odd years of it and you go, God, how much did I really miss? Would I change it? Probably not for the experience I got. But I got I had a lucky experience. I got to the good end of the food chain. Nowadays, from what I see, and it's just my opinion here, because I was stuck in one camp for quite a long time, at the end. And you see it through the years in that camp as well, is that everything's become more departmentalized. It's like the lighting guys look after the lighting guys, sound guys look after their shit, and video guys do the staging guys, all the rest of it. So for a production manager, it's very difficult to instill that ethic into the large crews because everyone's got a lot of work to do. But you've got to work as a team. You have to. Because if it's just one man for himself or one department for themselves, you're just going to create enemies. And but I understand why it's that way now because the technology is, everyone's got a lot on their plate.
Yeah.
Whereas back then we thought we had a lot on our plate, but we really didn't. So I think it kind of, I think from a production manager standpoint, it's more difficult than it is from the individual standpoint because everybody cares about their own gear. If it's, I've got to look after my gear.
Right.
But there's more to touring than just that. Touring's is a machine that goes down the road. And it's really hard. It's a really hard thing. Made to look easy by a lot of good people.
Yeah. As part of that machine, there's so much time that is off of loading in or doing the show.
Yeah.
There's those times in between where you're just together.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about the necessity to be able to, you can have all of the talent in the world, but if you're not really a nice person, people may not want to work with you again.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about, for students or NRG students who may be listening or watching, the necessity to carry yourself in a way that people will want to work with you again.
Well, you have to be a team player. You've got to care about everybody and everything and look after everybody's back. It's hugely important to have the right personality. If you're going to be a loner and not want to communicate with people or care about the people that are around you, because sometimes you're traveling on a bus, that's full of people. You've got to get on.
Right.
Otherwise, the atmosphere is horrendous, and you should go home, because those relationships are actually more important than the job you're doing, because you couldn't do it unless you have that mindset of looking after your brothers and sisters that are on the road. It'd be too difficult.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine. Well, I've been on tours before where you don't get on with people, and it's horrible. It's miserable. It's miserable.
If you were just talking generally, in a sense, with all of your years of experience of being on the road, what does it take to, just generally speaking, what does it take to be a successful lighting director? And not everybody's going to get the McCartney gig, right? That's a pie in the sky kind of wish. But what does, for the younger generation, what is it that makes a successful lighting director? What qualities do they need?
It's a good question. I mean, I'm trying to think, do I have any good qualities?
You got good qualities, Wally.
I think I've got better. I've got better. Now, focus. You've got to be really focused on what you want, but you have to be understanding that other people's needs are out there as well. And there's definitely been times when I haven't been that way. But to get to be a good lighting director, you have to start from the ground up. You're not just going to start at the end behind a console and get to the end of the snake. You're not. I mean, and if you do, you're not going to be very good at it. You have to learn from the ground up. Learn all about lights. Learn how the cables are run. How the lights work. What makes them go wrong? Because the problems are going to happen during a show, and you can't just look into space and look at people for help. You have to have a good idea of what could have gone wrong, because stuff goes wrong. I mean, without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah.
Nightly. I mean, so get there slowly. As eager as you want to become a lighting director and be behind a console, don't rush it. If you've got the desire to get there and you're willing to put in the work, you'll get there. But you've got to stick to it, because you're going to have times where you don't think you're going to get there, and that you think it's never ending. I'm going to be coiling cable and hanging lights all my life. But go out and do little shows. If you get an opportunity to do a small tour first, go out and do it. Get yourself behind a board on a smaller tour after you've learnt all about why the electrons run down the cable a certain way. Because without that knowledge of the instruments from the dimmer rack to the lights, or the processing rack, I should say nowadays, to the stage, and then back to the console, you have to have that understanding to become good at what you do.
When you look back over your career, I assume that, there might be some McCartney shows that stand out, but are there other shows, other designs, other events that you kind of, everybody kind of has those that stick out in their mind, or are there any that stick out clearly in your mind of that was a really good show?
Yeah. After the Duran tour in '86, I finished that tour. I took it over from somebody at the very end. And we went on, after the tour finished, we went on and supported Bowie on the Glass Spider tour.
Nice.
And I remember the first time I saw him on stage, and I went, shit. I went, that's what it's about.
This guy has it.
This guy's good. And it blew me away. Because he was an idol of liking music as a kid growing up. He was Ziggy Stardust to me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then he was there in front of me, and I was going, whoa, this is a star. Not that Duran Duran weren't stars, but this guy to me was like, whoa. And I remember vividly being on a stage in Portland, Oregon. It was a minor league baseball stadium. And I was lowering down lights with a rope from the rig, and it was sound check time. And I was lowering it down with a rope behind me, and I had all the style, I was styling the rope. And Dave comes on stage, and I'm like this. I'm like, not very often I get starstruck,
right?
Yeah. And he just comes up to me and he goes, "Hey, I'm Dave." I've got a rope man going, "I know." I know. And I said, "I'm Wally." And he goes, "Hey, Wally, how's it going?" I says, "I've had better days." I said, "I've had better days." And then the next city we went to, I can't remember what city that was. Pretty much the same thing happened again. He comes on stage and starts chatting to me like I was a regular guy. And he goes, "Is your day better today?" And I went, "Much better, thanks."
He remembered.
Yeah. And then we got on and had a bit of a daily thing going. It was like every day you'd come in and see, "How's it going?" And I remember thinking, this is kind of surreal. This is not normal.
This is Ziggy Stardust.
Yeah, this was like weird for me. I used to go back and pinch myself and go, this is kind of weird. But
we all sort of have people in our life that kind of help us along the way to get us to where we're going.
Yeah.
When you look back over your career, is there anyone that truly stands out as, maybe a mentor or somebody that gave you that break that really set you on your way?
There's a handful. Phil Freeman, the guy I told you about, for that very first time he came into the nightclub and gave me some credit. That really made me feel good and gave me the enthusiasm to go on. I think it's always good to give people credit when credit's due. Pat people on the back. Just don't always tell them when they're wrong. Give them credit when they've done a good job. Chaz Harrington, programmed for him a couple of times in the 80s. Ballbuster, Chaz. Love him to death. But he was so particular, and he taught me about detail, about everything matters. Every little detail matters. And never let something go by because it's easy. Easy's for the bad people, Let's just get it dead right every time. So Chaz was definitely one of those guys. And of course, Roy Bennett. Roy Bennett, who I did all the shows. Very fortunate to run into Roy, one of the best designers ever, I think, to date. Giving me the breaks. We used to program stuff with Roy. I started doing, I think it was like Disney on Ice shows. We started doing that way back when. But I'd already known him from Duran Duran. And over the years, we started off slow, did a lot of little projects together. We got into Duran Duran, Bryan Adams, and then pretty much lots of other people in the middle of there. But then when McCartney came up, I just felt fortunate he asked me to do it. And so you definitely Roy. And you learn so much from Roy as well. He looks at things much differently to how most people look at stuff. And over the years, I learned from him. I mean, you can't learn. If you don't learn from the people that you admire, then it's not much why you're there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And over those years, you develop a trust in someone's abilities and stuff. And towards the end of my tenure there, which was up until last year, Roy would put the stuff down on paper, and I would pretty much go into previs and put it together, and he trusted me. And then at the end, he would come in and not pull it apart, but just critique it. And we would alter it as to how we wanted it. And that was nice, because it gave me some freedom to do what I wanted to do, and then he'd come and correct it.
I've talked to a couple of designers and asked that question, and Roy comes up a lot.
Yeah.
In people's history, and it's amazing.
He's had an amazing body of work, and he still loves it. Yeah. And he's still going and doing it.
It's amazing the family tree, if you will, that he sort of has of
people,
of the branches that sprout off from Roy.
Hopefully, a lot of them learnt a lot because he gives back a lot. So, if you get a chance, for those people that were lucky enough to get a chance to work with him, and there's other people out there that give back as well. So it's don't waste your time. Learn. If you get that opportunity, take it and run with it really good. Those doors don't open that often. It's like, I think that's the biggest thing about if you're going to get into this as a young person, seize every opportunity you get. Don't get shy, because the door will slam shut pretty quick. There'll be somebody else really wanting to go through it, especially if you want to be like a lighting director at the other end. the thing. Hey, there's lots of great guys who are fantastic technicians who I absolutely admire, who are on the processing side on the stage, because without those guys, the other end doesn't work,
Right.
So I've got loads of time for those guys as well.
Well, you mentioned that you've stepped off the road. What does life off the road look like for Wally Lees?
I'm not sure yet. I mean, I'm quite happy to be off the road right now. I just turning 62, and I just thought the time was right. I mean, to be honest with you, the technology these days, there's so many young people coming through, and that's what's great about USITT. It gives people an insight. It gives me an insight onto the young kids and the technology that's coming through. Because you watch these guys program now, and it's just, and I'm just like, okay, time's getting really short for me now. It might be time for me to step aside. And I've got a wood burner of a hard drive in my brain. If something new goes in, somebody's got to leave. That's pretty much how it is. And I think it felt great for me because what a better way to go. You're working for the biggest star in the world. And for me, I finished, I'm a big sports fan, and I'm a soccer fan coming from Britain. And our last show for me was the Maracanã Stadium in Brazil. I went, this is like the mecca of soccer. I went, perfect. This is it.
Right. It's like the John Elway. You walk off into the sunset with the championship.
In a way, it felt that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was brilliant.
Yeah. Well, that's great.
But retirement's a strange word. I mean, I call it retirement, but if the right opportunity came along, in I don't know what aspect of the business, I still enjoy the business. I enjoy the people. It's a people business. You've got to get on with people. Of course, I'd be interested if the right thing came along. Am I searching for it? Not desperately. No, I'm still getting used to having some free time and enjoying it.
Being in the same place, waking up in the same.
Yeah,
in the same location.
Yeah, we just moved out into the hills in California. We moved out of Santa Monica and moved to Ojai, which is much quieter, but still only an hour and a half away from LA. So it's not like you're off the chart or anything. But it's a quieter existence, and I love it. Yeah. Well, so that's life off the road right now.
Right now. We'll let you get out on this last one. Just looking back, if you could go back to the early days of Wally Lees, to the kid working in that cabaret in Watford, if you could walk into that cabaret and just have a conversation with him, what would you tell him?
With who?
That young Wally Lees.
What would I tell him?
Yeah, what would you tell a young Wally now as he's getting ready to
what a question.
Go out on his career? What
a question. I don't know. I had such a grin on my face when I was doing that job in the early days. I thought I'd hit the jackpot then. What would I say? Wow, you really put me on the spot. Once you made the decision that you want to do this, the biggest thing is get on with people, stay focused, do it the best you can every day, and challenge yourself to get better at what you do every day. I don't think there was one day that I stood behind a console and didn't get nervous before a show. And I thought that was a good thing. But what would I say to that kid?
Do you miss that feeling?
A little, not a lot.
Yeah.
Not a lot. The thing that's weird is that I know I'm not going to do it again. That's the little weird part. Do I miss it? No, not really. The fact that it won't happen again, a little odd.
It could.
A little odd.
If the right one comes along.
If the right one comes along, yeah. But I don't think it should be somebody of 62 getting behind a console again. I think it should be somebody young. Another opportunity within the business, maybe, if it was the right one and a good fit.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think in this business you've got to. A lot of people these days, I've noticed, the turnaround is big. And I think some people get involved in it because they think it's glamorous. You can travel around the world. You living the rock star lifestyle, if you like, inverted commas. It's not quite that, as you know.
Yeah.
There's a lot of sacrifice, and you've got to think about it. Make sure you want to do it before you commit to it, because relationships suffer through it quite often. You miss a lot of time at home with family. If you have children, you're away a lot. Yeah. So weigh everything up, what you want to do before you really dig in deep, is what I would say. Because it's addictive. You'll want more of it when you get out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that adrenaline rush.
It is. It's a great adrenaline rush, and it should be. Yeah. It's a thrill, and it's a really cool job. You know, it's like it was a hobby that turned into a career, is really what it was. And I feel very fortunate, very, very fortunate, and a lot of breaks along the way.
Yeah,
you know, you get a lot of breaks. The thing is, pouncing on them, recognizing it's going to be a break, and making the most of it. Pretty much.
Wally, thank you very much for taking the time to chat with us.
Well, my pleasure. Anytime.
Congratulations on such a great career. And
thank you.
And
thank you.
Congratulations on the retirement. I hope you.
Yeah. Somewhat
retirement. Congratulations on the pseudo retirement.
Yeah, but it's great. I'm really enjoying it. I think my wife's happy too.
Yeah.
I think
for now.
Yeah. I think she's still coming to terms with the fact I'm at home as well so much. You know. So
maybe I should ask her that question.
Give it another year. You ask her the question again, she might be going, "It's time, honey. Out you go."
Right. It's time for you to go back out. Anybody got a job for my husband?
Yeah. She might make the phone calls, not me.
But thank you very much for taking the time.
My pleasure, Brian. Thanks a lot, man. Anytime.
Remember, you can find our podcast on all your favorite podcasting platforms. You can also check us out on YouTube. And we sign off today as we always do. May the light always shine your way, and you can make it the Robe way. Have a great day.